On this episode of Watch Stuff with Us, if you need a guide to everything Daredevil Born Again, you should start right here. Thanks a ton for tuning in to another episode of Watch Stuff with Us. I'm JD, and we are going to be breaking down all the main characters in this season of Daredevil Born Again. We're not going to do the new characters. We're just going to go back and look at all the characters that we know from the Netflix series. So, if you are enjoying this type of content, please hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, drop a comment below, and hit that notification bell so that you're notified each and every time we go live in 2025 with tons and tons and tons of Daredevil Born Again content. So go and subscribe, check out the channel. We got tons of stuff on there. But let's get this breakdown going right now. All right, as I stutter. But anyway. We're going to start with Daredevil first and foremost, the character, the main character of this show. So, like I said, this is going to be like a brief breakdown of each of the characters, kind of going through their history, a little bit of their history in the comics, but mostly their history in the shows. So, yeah, we're going to go through Daredevil. We're going to do Karen Page. We're going to do Foggy Nelson. We're going to do Punisher, and we're going to end with Kingpin. So those are probably the five biggest and most important characters in the show, at least up until this point. So yeah, let's start with Daredevil. I have some things highlighted, and I'm using the Marvel Cinematic Universe wiki. So yeah, it only is only going to talk about things that are from the MCU. So we'll start out with Matthew Michael Matt Murdock. That's a lot of M's. Is a lawyer and vigilante who was blinded as a young boy when radioactive substances fell into his eyes, which resulted in his four remaining senses being heightened to superhuman levels. So, yeah, if you were going to have a bad accident happen and for you to get blinded, I think it would be pretty awesome to have the rest of your senses be heightened the way that Daredevils are. And I mean, we know in actual real life that this does occur. It's not superhuman level, but when you are injured in some sort of way and you lose one of your senses, often your other senses are heightened. So that's kind of how Daredevil works. Um, as an adult, Murdoch chose to study law and attended Columbia University, where he met Foggy Nelson, who we'll be talking about later, his best friend. Upon graduation, Murdoch dedicated his life to fighting injustice in New York City by day as a lawyer with his law firm Nelson and Murdoch, and by night as a vigilante known as the Masked Man. Now, that's what he was known as initially. Not the most innovative name, but we got a better name a little bit later on. Murdoch's actions as a crime fighter eventually put him into conflict with Wilson Fisk, who we will also talk about later, also known as Kingpin. Murdoch used his skills to expose Fisk's criminal activities and then had him arrested, with Murdoch now being known as Daredevil. Yeah, awesome name, awesome character, awesome show, all awesome. Let's scroll down a little bit. Murdoch learned that Fisk, we're fast forwarding a little bit. I'm not giving you all of this. If you want to go back and check out each and every detail, you can go and look at the MCU wiki yourself. But I'm just hitting the highlights here. Murdoch learned that Fisk, now known as Kingpin, had been released from prison. So yeah, Kingpin was in prison, got released. And as a result, chose to focus primarily on being Daredevil in order to stop Fisk. However, Kingpin learned of his identity and retaliated by recruiting Benjamin Poindexter, also known as Bullseye, later on in the show. He recruited him to impersonate Daredevil and frame him for multiple murders. So yeah, that was a pretty key point in the Netflix run. Murdoch eventually managed to gain the upper hand over Kingpin and defeated him once again, blackmailing him to ensure that he remained in prison. With Fisk behind bars, Murdoch, Nelson, and Page created a new law firm to continue fighting injustice. It says in 2018, Murdoch survived the snap, discovering that Fisk had survived as well and that he had been released from prison. Murdoch resumed his vigilante activities as Daredevil, donning the red suit and cowl once more. So yeah, that's pretty much where the Daredevil Netflix series ended. There was a little bit more stuff going on. And also down here, it says the following year, Murdoch acquired a yellow suit from Luke Jacobson, blah, 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 blah. LA, She Hulk, we're gonna act like that never happened. No, we're just gonna act like that never happened. So that's pretty much a recap of Daredevil. Let's move on to Karen Page, the lovely Karen Page. Karen Page is the former office manager for Nelson and Murdoch, along with Foggy Nelson, Matt Murdock, and Ben Urich. Was instrumental in fighting, or was instrumental in the effort to bring Wilson Fisk to justice. While working for Nelson and Murdoch, Page came in contact with Frank Castle, who we will talk about later, um, who she helped defend in court. When Nelson and Murdoch fell apart, Page joined the New York Bulletin with the intention of writing Castle's true story. However, during her investigation, she was kidnapped by Ray Schoenberg and saved by Castle. Later, the Hand also kidnapped Page, and she was rescued by Daredevil before Murdoch revealed to her that he was Daredevil. So yeah, um, I don't know how much of this, like I haven't read all this because I like to do my reactions kind of live, but Karen Page does end up becoming a love interest for Matt Murdock. Probably his main love interest. There were in the comics, he also had a few other different love interests, and there's going to be one of them that shows up in the new season of Daredevil Born Again. So tune in to our new character breakdown that is also going to be on this channel. If it's not on here right now, it'll be on here tomorrow because I'm airing these back to back. As Nelson and Murdoch were shut down, Page was employed by the New York Bulletin. As the Hand returned to New York City, Page and Foggy Nelson were brought to the 29th Police Precinct for protection. However, to her horror, Page was informed that Matt Murdock did not survive the final confrontation with the Hand. So yeah, we know about that. He was feared dead. Later, Page was contacted by Frank Castle, who needed information about Micro and got involved in Lewis Wilson's terrorist campaign against Stan Ori. So, refusing to believe that Matt Murdock died, Page continued to investigate the incident, but to her horror, Wilson Fisk was released from Rikers Island by the FBI. Page started to search for information that could return Fisk behind bars. Eventually, she was reunited with Murdock, who joined forces with her, but she was targeted by Benjamin Poindexter. Boo. With Ray Nadim's help, Page, Murdoch, and Foggy Nelson managed to take down Fisk and return him to jail, although Nadim was killed. Nelson and Murdoch decided to start a new law firm together with Page. So yeah, that's kind of how we ended things with Karen Page on the show at the end of the Netflix series. So let's jump ahead to Foggy Nelson. Franklin Percy Foggy Nelson is a lawyer and the best friend of Matt Murdock, with whom he co-founded the law firm Nelson and Murdoch. Nelson worked on cases to get justice for the innocent, such as Karen Page and Ellen Cardenas. Yeah, I forgot that that Karen Page actually came to them to deal with a situation that she had, and that's how they initially sort of got involved together, which was kind of cool. Love how they did that in the story. Continuing their legal work, Nelson and Murdoch took on the case of Frank Castle, a vigilante dubbed as the Punisher, who had killed many criminals. 1 year later, upon receiving the news of Fisk's release from prison, Nelson ran for district attorney against Blake Tower in an attempt to put Fisk behind bars himself. However, Nelson soon found out that Fisk had been endangering his family. Oh, I remember that part. And joined forces with Murdoch, who revealed that he had survived, to send Fisk back to prison using Ray Nadim's testimony, like we talked about on the Karen Page breakdown. Basking in their success, they came together and created their own law firm. Let's break down a little bit about Punisher. So Francis David Frank Castle can't do this today. Is a former United States Marine turned violent vigilante who served during both the war in Afghanistan and the Iraq War. Yeah, Punisher, I have to say, is one of my favorite characters in all of the MCU. Well, not just the MCU, but also in the comics as well. I love the brutality of his character. I love his logo. I used to have a Hummer, and my Hummer had a giant Punisher logo on the back of it. That logo kind of turned into something else, so I had to get rid of it. But anyway, I love the Punisher. Capturing, interrogating, and executing high-value targets. Fearing he was slowly losing his honor, Castle returned to his family only to lose them all during a brutal shooting. Yeah, that was rough. And I love when they have characters who have gone through a lot and have experienced tragedy, and that sort of fuels what they do. For the most part, when you have a character like that, they have a line that they don't cross. Frank Castle is totally okay with crossing that line and will do anything necessary to get revenge on the people who harmed his family, and uses that fuel and hatred to continue to fight crime to this day. um, it says Castle became the Punisher as he aimed to clean up New York City of all crime by any means necessary. While seeking to avenge his own family's death, Castle also came in contact with Daredevil. Yep, they initially fought, had a lot of differences, and were able to come together with one common goal, which was to take down Fisk. So yeah, that ended up working out well for them, and especially for us because it made for a great series, as in the Punisher series, and also seeing the Punisher cross over into the Daredevil series. So last but not least, we will talk a little bit about Kingpin, played by Vincent D'Onofrio. I absolutely love villains, and Kingpin is totally one of my favorites. Wilson Grant Fisk is a powerful businessman and crime lord with a controlling interest in New York City. Decades after he murdered his abusive father when he was a child, Fisk formed alliances with other criminal enterprises and used the aftermath of the Battle of New York to gain power in the city as he attempted to rebuild Hell's Kitchen by destroying and gentrifying it. Yeah, that gentrifying part wasn't cool. But one thing that I can say about Kingpin, he kind of has some of the right things at heart. You know, he does want to take care of his city. He does want to take care of his people, but he also is trying to profit off of them. So you have to wonder how much he really wants to take care of them, which is interesting because he's now mayor of New York City. So yeah, it says that he eventually got betrayed by one of his partners and ended up going to prison because he got turned in by the FBI. Desiring his freedom, Fisk initiated a plan to exploit the FBI by exposing criminals in New York City in exchange for being held at the Presidential Hotel, where Fisk could continue all of his criminal activities while focusing most of his efforts on exposing Matt Murdock as Daredevil. So yeah, that was an interesting part of the show. Like knowing that Fisk was in trouble and had been pretty much placed on house arrest, was supposed to be monitored, but he was able to get around that and was still doing just as much crazy stuff as he had been doing in the past. Having survived Thanos' snap, Fisk was released from prison and took over the Tracksuit Mafia, which you saw in the Hawkeye series, I believe, also in the Echo series. And having used Ronin to massacre their leadership. So the Ronin was a alternate identity of our Hawkeye, where he took on like this ninja persona. Super cool, super violent. They didn't really show as bloody as that character gets in the comics, but it was kind of cool to see it, at least for a little bit. Fisk strived to regain his total control over New York, although these plans were impeded by Hawkeye and Kate Bishop, while he was also betrayed by Eleanor Bishop. At this time, Maya Lopez, who is Echo, discovered Fisk's role in her father's death and shot Fisk in the eye. Fisk survived the gunshot and attempted to reconnect with Maya, but was rejected. Displeased by this choice, Fisk had planned to kill Maya's family. Although Maya awakened her powers and made Fisk relive his childhood trauma, distraught by the experience, Fisk then abandoned Maya and returned to New York and joined the mayoral race. So yeah, that last part was all the stuff that was covered in the Echo series. So if you are interested in some more background on Fisk and a little bit of color for everything that's going to happen on the next Daredevil Born Again series, you can go back and watch a little bit of that Echo show. But yeah, not necessary 100%, but if you are a completionist like me and have watched everything, you will go back and check that out too. So there you have it. We just broke down all the major returning characters from Daredevil Born Again. I am beyond excited for this season. We have so much content coming on this channel for Daredevil Born Again. So please hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, drop a comment below, and hit that notification bell so that you're notified each and every time we go live in 2025. We will be doing a live stream starting an hour before Daredevil Born Again debuts on Disney Plus. I believe it comes on at 8 p.m. Central Time. So we will be jumping online at 7 p.m. and just basically getting hyped for the show. Gonna do a few more breakdowns, talk with the people, enjoy each other's company, grab some snacks, get some drinks, and then settle in for the show and have a full-on watch party for that and comment on it as it goes. And then after it's over, we're going to do a little bit of breakdown. So it is going to be a blast. Please, I want you to be a part of it. And you can do that by hitting that subscribe button right now and also hitting that notification bell. I really appreciate you for checking out this channel and for watching this video. It's JD. I'll see you when I see you. Peace.